This weekend, Andy joins the Possum Lodge, Ryan speaks on his alien encounters, and we find out that the mystery isn't that special in a Famicom puzzle game. I'm Ryan.
I'm Andy.
And this is Weekend Rental, episode 157. All right, welcome back, everyone, to the latest installment. All sorts of fun's been happening. There's actually been some video game news. We've done a few things in our own lives, and we've lost yet another national treasure. But yeah, how have you been since we last recorded?
Not too bad. Summer's hitting pretty hard. Pretty hot these last couple of weeks up here. But still trying to enjoy the outdoors. So not a whole lot of game playing or watching stuff, but
yeah, I'm kind of with you. I've been trying to get out and about more too, because, realistically, we're August. My kids will be starting at the end of this month, school again. And yeah, I had a couple good weekends left, and then we get into the hectic schedules, and it's crazy that we're already here. And yeah, man, the summer, I don't know what it is. We're either 100 degrees or we're low 70s, which I don't mind low 70s, but
I'll take that. Yeah.
I get that like most of the year around here, bookending, I guess, winter and, spring, but I could go for like just some low 80s, like decent days, but it is what it is. At least my AC works now. So
yeah.
But
that helps.
It does. And we both got out and did some camping. So yeah, not a lot of gaming updates. I will say I put some more time into trying to polish off Tears of the Kingdom. I was looking at my profile tonight, and I've put 105 hours into that.
Jeez, wow.
I am at Ganon. I got to the fight. I thought I went in pretty well prepared. I was kind of expecting and anticipating the, I guess, song and dance finish from Breath of the Wild. They don't give you that, which I guess I kind of get, but also I'm 105 hours in and I did all the things. Like maybe I could just be an overpowered badass and just get to that final cutscene, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like the game really wants you to be a player who's good at locking and parrying to get through some of this stuff, which I am not that guy.
No.
And to my dismay, when you get into the final chamber, you can place the navigation point if you want, but you are not allowed to teleport in or out, which effectively means I'm stuck in a death loop, and I've had to revert back to an earlier save, and there is battle requirements to the entry to the last fight. So I'm going to have to redo all that shit again. I'm going to have to really restock up on stuff. And I'm just kind of pissed about that. I just wanted my title screen, I guess. And I shouldn't complain about a fair challenge, and I should have expected it from this game, but it's really deflating when I just wanted like the cherry on top.
Yeah, after that long, 105 hours, you should have the armor, you should have the hearts.
Yes, and I should probably be better at the combat in the game, but I largely avoid it.
Yeah,
because
you don't need to. That's that's an abrupt thing too. I just beat my first Phantom Ganon.
Yes,
and it's the same thing. It's like you got to get good at that real quick.
Yes,
and I'm not. I was kind of cheesing them in. And if that isn't allowed in other battles, you're really screwed if you don't.
Yeah, and if you're not prepared with like the recovery, that was the part that was killing me, was like he just corrupted so many of my hearts, and it's like by the time I got to his second phase, I was out of anything that could uncorrupt hearts. I had one heart left, and it's like, and I got to that point twice.
Wow.
I just couldn't. And I'm going to take ownership for the part of me just not being great at the combat in that game, but something a little more akin. I guess I think everyone can agree that maybe Breath of the Wild's ending felt a little lackluster. I mean, I could have used like a bump up maybe, but I was also just thinking like, I am Link now. I have the Master Sword. I'm all powerful. Like, let's just kill evil. I wanted it to be that.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like the complete opposite of Breath of the Wild, where, just doing the bare minimum dungeons really basically gave you the ending in that one.
Yeah, so now I'm finding out different options. Like there's gloom armor, I guess, that I don't have. I gotta look. I'm gonna have to reassess all my foods that I go in with. I've never made a potion that recovers. I don't know if there's a resistance potion. I gotta experiment with that, because if I could get a resistance potion to slow down the gloom overtake of my hearts, I think it'd be fine. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have to have like literally every plate of food I bring in with me be a recovery
Sunday line or whatever. Yeah.
Which I'll have to go get more of those at some point if that's the case. So,
Mm-hmm.
or alternative strategies, I guess, run and chip away. But he had some attacks that just, at least I couldn't find an avoidance for, and they would, I don't know. I got frustrated. But whatever. I'm at least at the end, I guess.
I really need to get there too. Every time I pop in, I play an hour, and you really don't get anything done in an hour.
No.
You find a few shrines or whatever, but yeah, with Starfield coming out in like a month,
It's true. You gotta get that done.
better get this done. Yeah.
Yeah. Still a great game. I still love it. I was so after that win, and I just took it out of me. I spent like 3 hours, maybe not. Yeah, probably about 3 hours trying it Sunday night. And I just haven't been able to pick it up since, so.
Yeah. That's a little deflating.
Yeah. Losing my gamer card for sure.
How many shrines are you at? Do you know?
Not that many. I don't think I'm over 100 yet.
Okay.
But I'm close. So like I don't have the full 2 stacks of hearts, but I've got, 3 or 4 into the second row. So
Okay.
and max stamina. More than enough.
Yep.
Well, you'd think,
Yeah.
I guess. Clearly not. So have you been playing anything then other than that?
Oh boy, not really. That's
I was gonna say I didn't see a lot of gaming on your topics.
No,
You played Twisted Metal? No, I'm just kidding. So you actually saw that, huh?
Yeah.
I've heard people say it's maybe good.
It's all right. I'll say it's all right. It's got some charm to it. And it's definitely got the references to a lot of things in there.
Sure.
I find Anthony Mackie's character a little grating.
Okay.
He is a little bit too much of that plucky, optimistic, joke around. Kind of like a Star-Lord, Nathan Drake, but times 10 in a post-apocalyptic world. It's a little weird.
Now, did they drop the series or just the first episode?
I think the whole season.
Okay.
It's a season because I don't know if they're planning on making another one. I don't know. But
I haven't heard anyone bashing it as much as I thought I would.
No,
it's surprising.
It's decent. It's pretty. There's some good action scenes in it.
Yeah.
It really feels like somebody wrote a Death Race type of script, and then they're like, let's just attach a brand to it. Of course, you get all the characters in there too, but I don't know. I just got to the Sweet Tooth one, and it's, I don't know. I'll have to see more of his character, I think.
Okay.
It's a little weird because, it's Will Arnett is the voice of Sweet Tooth.
But it's like a professional wrestler who's the body, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, and Arnett's a producer and or director, right?
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so, maybe.
Okay. Yep. In probably the first 5 minutes, they showed the PlayStation game. So
it's a little on the nose.
Yeah.
It exists in the world, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So
there's just some comedy bit.
Is it worth getting Peacock for?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
You are getting the Mario movie in 2 days?
Yeah.
Peacock.
Well, Paramount, right? Where's the Peacock? I thought it was Paramount.
I think it's Peacock. Yep. I think it's Peacock.
I have it on Blu-ray.
Maybe it's
Sealed
both.
since it came out.
Yep. But yeah, I don't know. There's some good bits in it. I would say the action is better than the comedy.
Okay.
There's a lot of comedy in it where it's like they are really trying. They're finding a lower common denominator, I think.
Go for the easy
on
stuff.
Some things. Yeah. It's just weird that it's more an adult. It's an adult show, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean
It's
those
pretty
games
violent.
were T for teen, if not M for mature, depending on the
Yeah.
title.
Yeah,
And
I
let's
think they
forget
got to
Small
M, didn't they?
Brawl, but
Yeah.
it's funny too, just to like latch onto that because like, I mean that franchise had its heyday 20 years ago. I mean, you can maybe count 2006's reboot, air quote, like relevant, but didn't really do much
No.
to bring
it was
the
a good
name
game,
back.
but it
was an okay game.
was definitely it's Twisted Metal again.
Right.
No.
Except they give you a helicopter so you can never lose. Like, I'll just always be Talon and never die. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll have to watch for it. I'm sure it'll be on that Plex server that I've got access to. I'm not like super amped about it, but it's interesting because like I don't know, Twisted Metal 2 and Twisted Metal Black were a pretty big part of my gaming experience growing up. I probably put more hours in Twisted Metal 2 than many other games. Probably the most played PlayStation game. Better
Wow.
Metal Gear Solid. Well, that's not true. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, of course, is number one. But
You'd probably get a lot more references than I am too, you know, because I don't know a
maybe.
lot of
It's been
I
so
don't know
long.
all the characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But hopefully the guy with that just basically has wheels for arms on the end of his arms.
Axel.
I hope that guy shows up. Yeah.
Yeah. That's got to happen. He's a pretty notable character.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is going to turn into some competition or if it's going to be a combat arena type thing. So far, it isn't.
Okay, it's just people out in the wasteland. It's kind of like
it's
Mad
kind
Max.
of Mad Max. Yeah, it's very Mad Max.
Gotcha.
But if Mel Gibson was, you know, very plucky.
Who's the Bane guy was in Fury Road. I just watched the end of that. It was like turned on the TV and they were like showing it on some network and it was playing. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit here and watch the end of this. Like,
yeah,
the movie was great.
That's a great movie.
Just like start to finish, nonstop, awesome.
There's like no exposition on what's happening basically at all in that movie.
No, you don't need it.
Can't talk. We're running away.
Yep.
People are chasing us.
Water, evil guy, guitar doof. It's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, I should really rewatch that. I mean, actually, that's one of those movies that I should get a 4K. I bet that looks great on 4K.
Oh yeah.
Like I only own one 4K movie right now.
I think they made it black and white too, and people say that's a really good version of it too. But
I could see that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I haven't watched much new. I just started the chapter 2. You know, they're trying to hide the fact that you're not getting the same Witcher. So it's like, it's not the third season, it's chapter 2. So like they can do the switcheroo more elegantly, I think. But yeah, I started that. It's good. I binged those last episodes so fast. I kind of like forgot the context of like a lot of what was going on. But yeah, they're good. I mean, I like the storyline. I like the special effects and everything for a TV show like that. I think Netflix has done a really good job. I'm just waiting to see like if I give a shit after they switch and like how they're going to switch. I heard there might be like an alternate universe sort of thing, which do we need a multiverse in The Witcher? I don't know.
That's I don't know. The second season, for whatever reason, just kind of disappointed me. I don't know. I was really jazzed about the first season. The second one let me down a little bit. I don't know what it was about it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's as many major story beats in the second one because they kind of just kept with the same cast. I mean, there's some good fights in there though.
Yeah.
But yeah, he fights in this one, like in the first or second episode, he fights what I can only describe as like the final form that you take in Limbo. So the whole time I was just like, that's the thing from Limbo. Like, this is amazing. So that's pretty gross. But yeah, I think I don't know, it was like 6 episodes that came out or something. I think I'm only like three in. And then
okay.
Oh no, maybe there's more episodes now because the part 2 came out. They had a few episodes and then the part 2. But yeah, I gotta get caught up. That's been about my only watching. That and catching up on Strange New Worlds. That continues to be an excellent Star Wars show. So yeah.
Did you watch or
Star Trek? Sorry,
that side Witcher. It's like Origins or something like that.
No, is that Netflix too?
Yeah, it's a Netflix show. It was only a few episodes, but took place before. It was like the story of how the first Witcher was made, basically.
Okay, sounds interesting.
It was fine. It was not all that great. It would be like the D&D movie, but take the comedy out of it. That's kind of what that movie reminded me of.
So there's not much there.
Yeah. And then there's like that anime that I never played or never watched.
Yeah, I didn't get into that either.
Yeah.
Somebody was telling me that they're going to do a new anime series of Castlevania that's going to be following a different character.
Yeah, Richter.
Richter, yeah. I don't know when that's coming, but yeah.
That's another one you need to catch up on and finish.
You never finished it?
Nope.
Yeah, that's good.
It's hard to do when you can't really watch that one in front of kids.
No, yeah,
definitely not.
The orgy with the brother and sister in that one is a little hard to explain. Yeah, I could have done without that too, to be honest. But yeah,
I'm too busy watching other things.
I was gonna say I see a couple things on here that I've seen. Which one do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
And how did you start watching the one again? I guess is my other question.
Should we go into that one right away?
Let's do it.
You know how sometimes you just end up on Tubi sometimes.
As one does.
Yeah, I don't know.
Twice a year.
Nobody can actually find the A to B on how that happens, but it does. And they have 15 seasons of the Red Green Show on there. Talk about something that you can watch with your kids.
Yes.
We tuned into a few episodes of that, kind of showing them, hey, this is what this is all about. And boy, they kind of latched on to that in a pretty big way.
Yeah.
To the point where they're carrying around like duct tape around the house.
Handyman's secret weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for anyone initiated with the Red Green Show, it was a show that basically aired in the U.S.
Seeped into.
Yeah, on PBS, on our public broadcast system. It was actually kind of a flagship show when we were in middle school, maybe early high school. It was still going. I mean, they had the fundraisers, the whole shebang. It's a Canadian sitcom. I don't know where it aired in Canada.
So we actually got the Canadian channel somehow. It was
really?
CBC, I think the channel was.
Okay, that's what they put it on? Yeah.
And that's what it was. I think that's what it was on too. So there was two different channels that you could see the Red Green Show on up here.
Yeah.
It's very popular up north.
It is. I guess the best way to describe it is like a Canadian Elks Lodge. Think Tim Allen from Tool Time mixed with like the No Ma'am Club from Married with Children is sort of what you get with a backwoods hillbilly Canadian flair. Everybody wears flannel. There's bits, there's stand-up comedy, there's recurring segments, but there's always a weird through storyline to weave the thing together.
Which you hardly ever see the story. That's one thing I never really thought of until now watching it as an adult. The story that they're telling is just them telling you what's happening behind the scenes. You never actually see basically what's going on most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, the real highlight of the show, I think, is like the handyman's corner where he tries to just roll red, green, tries to make all sorts of monstrosities out of leftover parts and upcycling and duct tape, handyman's secret weapon. And then I think the other one that is a recurring bit that didn't come in until about midway through that series is the like working with Bob or whatever. And it was like just a silent
Adventures of Bill with Bill. Yeah.
Yes. Adventures with Bill, where it's just like a silent voiced over thing. He's like, Bill doesn't ever talk. It's all shot in black and white.
That's definitely my kid's favorite part.
Yeah. It's like, it's their take on the Three Stooges, basically.
Oh yeah. And
you get these bits in each episode. And then I don't know, the cast of characters you get to know is pretty fun. I mean, it's pretty derogatory towards women, that I will say.
Oh yeah.
But like, and then there's like,
it's very stereotyped for sure.
And then the nerdy nephew that he hates, I forget his name.
Harold.
Yeah. Yeah. He used to be like my favorite. He's always like giving Red a hard time.
That computer guitar thing he has. That's whatever the hell that thing is.
Yeah. So the show it went on forever. And in fact, they were still doing like live shows and tours pre-pandemic. Like I think they had been in Fargo here, like by like 2017. They were still like running that thing. And yeah, that's wild. Your kids still like it though, huh? It held up.
Yeah, I will say it doesn't hold up as well as what I thought it did back then.
Sure.
For a lot of reasons, but yeah, there's some pretty good for the slapstick stuff and the general like, wow, this is a really dumb idea that he's doing. You know, those like you said, those two ideas, those two segments are usually the best out of those.
Yeah, yeah, like just the stuff he'd come up with, like the self-cleaning car. He like attaches a big metal pole and hose and like hooks into his radiator and then dumps like wax into the radiator.
The one that we watched was he was going to insulate his ceiling by making fake ductwork go all the way through the walls, and then he was dumping popcorn in his furnace.
Oh my God. Nice.
But yeah, there's lots of good, a lot of good segments in there. Brought me back to when I was a kid. My parents used to watch that all the time.
Yeah, that used to be the thing too. We'd go to bed after that was like the closing show. Cause I swear we'd watch like Stooges on Turner Classic Movies, and then Red Green would close out the night. And yeah, just that catchphrase. If the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. It's just, yeah, it's a great show. And he always has one red suspender and one green one, and
they're right in order every time.
Yeah, great show. Wholesome.
Good job, Canadians.
Good job, Canada. I wonder if Canadians like that show, or if they're like, oh, that was stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely like a, do you like Larry the Cable Guy type thing,
right? Yeah,
you know.
It's sort of on par with like maybe referencing Kids in the Hall is a bit of a stretch, but like it's like a redneck Kids in the Hall sort of vibe.
Yeah.
With a fraction of the budget.
Yeah, there's not much going on in that.
So what's this other one you watched?
The other one I watched was, let's see. Let's go with the Supernatural episode.
Oh, this is always okay. I didn't know if this was like a game or something.
No.
Okay.
This is an episode where high school does a play about Supernatural.
Okay. I
don't know if you remember this one.
Maybe it'll ring a bell.
Obviously, the show is pretty meta along the way. I mean, obviously, there's a pretty big story beat early on that somebody's writing the books.
Have you met the guy that's writing the books?
Yep, we're past that. Yeah.
Do you know who he actually is yet?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so. I think
Won't
this
spoil
is
that
his
for you.
great this is like his grand return. He hasn't been
Okay.
on for many seasons.
Yeah, they
So,
throw a wrench in there that you're gonna have a hard time adjusting to, but buckle
okay.
up.
Okay. I figured that they're gonna set something up because he is at the end of this episode. The people running the play, the high school students, are taking inspiration from the books.
Right, because the books exist in the world, right?
Telling the story which is happening on the TV show, which also there's episodes where they're doing TV shows.
Yeah.
On the TV show Supernatural. There's many episodes like this, and I enjoy them quite a bit.
When you run, 11 seasons past your scheduled end date, things get weird.
Oh yeah, you have to do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to fill out those 24 episodes or whatever they are every year.
Yeah, so many.
With some, it is funny how like there'll be super serious one, and then the next one will be something like this, and then it'll be like back to your scheduled. Oh, the world's on fire.
Right.
But I do appreciate that they do these, just because it is funny seeing their reaction to a filtered version of their life in a different,
Yeah,
and how they handle different things. And they poke a lot of fun at the show itself. There was one where they're watching. There's one pretty good gag where they're watching the show or they're watching the play, and some guy comes out on stage and starts singing or whatever. And Dean's like, "Who's that guy? Who's that supposed to be?" And they're like, "Oh, that's their brother Adam. He's stuck in hell." And it's like, "Oh yeah, that was like 5 seasons ago, and they haven't even said anything about it."
Yeah.
They're not even resolving any of this stuff. So they're poking fun at their plot holes that they're making, and
yeah, I like when they do stuff like that too. There's so many bottle episodes in that series, like that just like one and done, like wacky concepts that make it pretty entertaining.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't recall that one at all for whatever reason, but yeah. So what season do you think you're on then?
I want to say that's 10.
Okay, I was gonna say maybe. Yeah, you got to be double digits. If Chuck's back,
the one of the good bits in that was that the high school student that was playing Dean was in love with the high school student that was playing Cass. So a lot of times on the stage that they were like kissing and stuff like that, and Dean's like, "Oh, I don't like it."
Yeah, I was always waiting for that to be a thing. And as you get towards the end, that actually kind of does.
Yeah.
It's not reciprocated, but it is spoken.
Sure.
At some point, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It's funny.
That show continues to be pretty good. We're marching through them.
Yeah, I think you're through most of like the troublesome stuff. I mean, there's wacky stuff all the way through, but it has a pretty good ending. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it would have had a much better ending had the pandemic not altered the course of how it ended. Mm-hmm. And like, if it was just kind of sad because like they couldn't bring a lot of the people that you'd want to see one last time back because of that. So that kind of sucks. But I mean, they reference a lot of people and try to do their best, but it's sort of I don't know. I didn't know how to feel about the ending when I saw it. Like, it's sort of a cop out, but then you're like, I don't know what else I'd rather had them do, I guess. So after this long, it's fine. Like, I don't hate it. I'm not like Seinfeld mad about it. Like, to this day, I get pissed when I see the Seinfeld series finale on TV and turn it off. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. At some point, like you can't possibly end something that's hyped. There's not too many examples where it was a very big show and then it ended perfect. It's not many.
Yeah, that's very true. At least they didn't do like is it Newhart where they ended that series with him just like waking up and it was all a dream. Like, that's the biggest fuck you can pull. That's pretty bad.
That one kind of made sense though, because he was playing the character on the other show that he did, right?
That's true. Yeah, still though. What a way to
that was pretty bad. Game of Thrones is probably the worst I've seen, but
and that's why I don't want to continue watching that. I got like 2 seasons into that, and it didn't really grab me. And I think it's just because everyone was telling me how it was like the greatest show I was ever going to see in my entire life, and I was like, it's fine. Yeah, it's a fine show. Yeah. But like, and then everyone's telling me how bad it is at the end. I'm like, well, then why do I want to even do that to myself? Yeah. Like, I'll just skip it. It's fine. Yeah. Well, you get another. I don't know. Are all these shows?
I have one more show.
Okay.
We did watch all the way through She-Hulk.
Okay. Did you just binge that?
Yeah, we basically did. Talk about a show that has a shitty ending.
I don't know that we ever watched the final episode. I just thought the writing in that was pretty bad, and like, especially Marvel, which tends to be very like empowering towards female figures. Like, she's a very weak and maybe poor representation of a role model for women. Like, it's kind of bad. She kind of just leans into all the shit that like we grew up with. I mean, she's drunk all the time.
Yeah, she doesn't have a lot of self-esteem as herself, only when she becomes Hulk, which is kind
DTF, of which is strange.
Yeah. Then it's a problem. Yeah. You should check out the last episode to see where they go with that, because it's not, obviously, it's pretty fourth wall breaking. A lot of times she's talking to the audience and about the show and all that stuff, which that's fine. The one part I did like about it, how it was like the one-off episodes where it would be like, okay, this week we're just doing this weird case about this magician or something that's copyright infringement on a real magic and all that stuff. Those were a little bit more interesting, where it's like a somewhat comedic law show.
Yeah.
set in the universe, but
I always have a hard time with that show, because it just reminds me of the Futurama, where they would make fun of like Ally McBeal, and it was like single female lawyer, and it was like that TV show. So like every time I see her and she's in the office, like that's just going through my head. Like, God damn you, Futurama. Which that's coming back for another season, I guess.
What the hell?
That show's been on and off like 6 times.
It's
crazy.
It's been nuts.
I mean, it's still funny. I just can't keep track of where it started and stopped anymore.
That's kind of the way to do it, though, right? Like, if you keep it on like The Simpsons, eventually people are just like, oh, it's not as good as it used to be. But if you can't keep track of what it's even doing, then you don't know when it was good and when it was bad, right?
It's true.
Like, I kind of remember the Comedy Central ones being kind of shitty, but
I do too. I remember them not being what I thought. But the movies leading up to it were strangely good, because there was like 3 DVD movies, and I was like, oh, those are all awesome. Yeah, and and Disenchanted, like that on Netflix, I thought both seasons of that were good. So clearly he's still got the writing chops.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. Well, and I'll have to finish She-Hulk, it sounds like. You guys were late to that one. You guys are usually on top of Marvel stuff.
I know, but we're catching up.
Have you watched the Marvel one with like the girl who's this Indian superhero thing yet? Miss Marvel?
Miss Marvel, we did watch that one, yeah. Okay. That one was all right. Like, all of these are just like, they're fine.
Right.
We haven't even watched half the new movies yet either. I don't think I've seen Ant-Man yet.
Oh, I haven't either.
I know Guardians is coming pretty soon on Disney Plus, so watch that one. But
you're gonna cry during that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you're dead inside.
Cold-hearted.
Yeah.
We watched the Baby Groot ones. Those are just little shorts. Those are pretty funny.
Yeah, we watched those too. The kids liked that. It's hard not to enjoy Groot. I just wanted to drop a little gaming news. So Pikmin 4 came out. I think we maybe briefly talked about it. So I got that game on the camping trip in between episodes here, and gave it to my son because he's way more into Pikmin than I am. We picked that thing up on Sunday to drive home. It's like an hour and a half drive from my parents' place. Monday, about 5:30, I'm at home. Just get home from work, sit down on the couch. I look over. He's fucking rolled credits on Pikmin 4 already. So 2 days, and then at the end it shows the stats, and I was like, 13 and a half hours? Like, you played 13 and a half hours of Pikmin 4 in 2 days? Which says a lot about my shitty parenting also, but I was just like, holy crap, kid. But yeah, he really liked it, I guess. It sounds like it's more of a less restrictive, like not so many timers, and like you don't have to worry about dead ends.
Oh, okay.
And then there is New Game Plus. Like, there's more to do after. I was reading, it sounds like it's about 30 hours to do all the things, but
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, holy shit, $60 game done in 2 days. So yeah, I've yet to play it. It looks cool. I'm actually really looking forward to getting Switch or Pikmin 1 and 2 physically on the Switch, and then just having, because we got the 3, just having all of them on one platform is gonna be cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I didn't think about that they're all gonna be on there.
Wow. And then other than that, I just thought it was worth noting that it sounds like industry insiders are confirming for the most part that we're going to get a Switch successor next year. So Nintendo says they're not going to do it before the end of the fiscal year, which I think is a mistake. I was thinking a March launch. I was thinking March, and then you get bump on the back end of your fiscal year and bump on the start. But I could see them doing like a September, October drop, ahead of the holidays enough that it's not a mad dash, but
it still might be. It still would be at that point, at least if you have it.
Not if they don't put good You're assuming they're going to make top notch high end. This is going to be like 80 gigs of internal storage and like the 5-year-old processor, not the 20-year-old. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think they're using existing parts, and the rumor mill is that LCD screens are being manufactured for a new console.
Oh, jeez.
So it sounds like they're going cheap, right? So that tells me,
is this thing even going to be better than the Steam Deck at this point?
I don't think so. I think this tells me that they've got better but already existing technology, and I think they're going to want to do backwards compatible. So, and they confirmed they're sticking. Well, the rumor is they're sticking with cartridges.
So. Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, I think we could be looking at like a DS, 3DS sort of vibe.
Yeah.
But is that enough of a shift?
You're saying 3D screens where they have to go back to the LCDs so they could have the 3D screen.
No, yeah, I'm hoping the 3D doesn't make it, but I'm thinking, I'm just fearful, and maybe it doesn't matter, but I'm fearful that they're not going to make enough of a leap to make it appealing for devs to port things. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where, especially sticking with the memory card thing, which I guess, what do? You have to, right? But you can also circumvent that if you allow for proper internal storage. And right. I think they'd be stupid not to just do like 250 gigs, like internal. They won't. You know what I mean? But like at least that would get you somewhere. That would let you install one EA game, right?
Yeah.
Without needing a memory card. So.
Yeah. That's interesting because like, I don't know if they can really afford to go that far behind the power wise as they did this last time. And even then they were on par. They were pretty close to on par because it was kind of a few years into the next gen, right?
Right.
So they were trying to get those. But even now, once a highly powered PS4 game probably doesn't even hardly end up on Switch.
Yeah, I think if they can't get something in there that will do like, I'm not saying get ray tracing level, but like get a step below that, like where like a solid gaming PC would still be.
Yeah.
Where it's going to be fine for the next couple of years on AAA titles, but you're not going to run them at max. You're going to run them at like, medium.
Yeah, playable. Yep.
So I don't know. It does sound like for sure it's going to be portable, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess I'm excited because I think they need the refresh. I also think it does mean that we're not going to see Prime 4 on the Switch, if that's the case, or it will be a dual release. And they really seem to be going out strong, right? Like with their launch lineup this fall with like a final Mario game, and there's some stuff. So
do you think they'll do any gimmicky stuff with it?
If they didn't, it wouldn't be Nintendo.
The Switch is, well, the Joy-Cons are kind of gimmicky, I'll say.
Yeah, the HD rumble that nobody used, the IR sensor that nobody used.
True. I wonder if they'll get into like, how VR controllers
have the nice grips and like.
Yeah, and they're very, haptic.
Yeah.
What you're doing.
That could be fun for them.
Kind of has the more realistic motion controls, like VR.
I'd be fine if they just did the thing where like there aren't motion controls at all and just made it a normal controller. And if you want to make it cute so I can swap it on and off too, that's fine. But maybe let's just forget motion. Let's just not do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine if you add another, 1/8 of an inch to the back of those controllers, so you don't have to put some shitty joysticks in there that drift all the time. That's fine with me.
Yes, an ergonomic redesign of those controllers out of the box would be huge. I mean, don't make the thing massively bigger, but just a little contour. Throw in a little more battery life in there. Give them a little more weight, so don't feel like Legos when you've got them like in your hand. But yeah, it's exciting.
It's interesting because I mean, every month I feel like they're like, here's this collection of all these 360 games that are getting ported to Switch. So it's like that entire generation is basically on the Switch now, remastered form and all that bullshit on top of everything that released. So if they're not really ahead of the game here, there's not much backwards stuff that you can be like, oh, here's this.
It still amazes me though that we're this far into and they never fixed their eShop. It's still a dumpster fire, and you still never got customizable wallpapers, black or white. How did that survive an entire generation? They never upgraded their OS once.
Yeah, that is weird. The menu and all that, it's all the same. Day one. Meanwhile, Xbox is like, here's a new menu. Fuck you.
Yeah, I saw that. Is it any good? I heard it was like easier to get to your game to launch. I'm like, well, it was already pretty easy.
Yeah. One thing I like to check is like recently Game Pass, new games to Game Pass.
Oh, sure.
And they put that kind of right on the menu now. So
that's sweet. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what new console brings. I think I might try to get this at launch. As big of a Nintendo fanboy as I am and as many consoles I've owned, it might shock you to learn that I've never once day and date gotten a Nintendo console. So
really? Wow.
Yeah, or maybe any console. Neo Geo X Gold, does that count?
You might be the only one if you were to say that was my only console I got on launch.
Uh-huh.
That would be
I know I was the only one that pre-ordered it from the GameStop because the guy yelled at me when I kept calling him every couple of days to see if it was in. He's a really good store manager. He's like, you're literally the only one. I'm like, I'm just asking, man. Like, I just want to know where my thing's at. Yeah.
I got a Wii U on launch.
That is bizarre. You also got a Switch on launch too, didn't you?
I don't remember if I did or not.
I'm pretty sure you broke down and got one.
Yeah.
Wii U is a strange choice.
I had to play my Batman Arkham Origins and my Tank and my Zombie U.
Are those the games you actually picked up for it?
I don't think so. We just played a shit ton in Nintendo Land.
Yeah, as they do. Yeah, that makes sense.
You want to move on to?
Got here.
Oh, I suppose I could talk about that. It's Maquette, I think is how you say it. It's a Game Pass game where it's a puzzle game, which is really trippy to think about because in the center of the world that you're in is like a model city or kind of just different buildings and stuff that you're looking down on. But you're also in that model. So the world is the same as the model.
Okay.
So a lot of the puzzle mechanics are taking things around the world and then bringing them to the model and put them in the model and then going back over to the would be in the real world, and now they're smaller, or you're changing the size of different things and looking through the model and seeing if you can open gates from a different angle. And
interesting.
At one point my son was playing, and you hold the model and you can like throw it in the air and everything, and then you like look outside and you're flying around in the air too. It's really messed up. It's hard to even like wrap your head around that, but
that's pretty awesome.
Cool design. It's one of those Annapurna games, so there's a little bit too much artsy fartsy. We're telling a story about a relationship that went wrong, but all it is that they just ended up watching TV more than actually talking to each other. So now we need to break up, and then, oh no, our lives are so weird now. And yeah,
sounds like a layer.
It's one of those games.
Necessarily need.
Yeah.
Interesting. And that's new to Game Pass?
Yep.
Okay. Nice. I still got to check out Arcade Paradise. I'm very interested in that, so I'm going to have to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just had one last quick topic that I just threw on because Nintendo Hodge hit me up on Twitter. I don't know, you ever follow that, I forget his name now, I can't remember it, on YouTube. Kramer? I don't know. But he's like a guy, local YouTuber. He's been around, Scotty Kramer, I think. He's been around for like a few years, just like one of those like topical conversational channels. Recently, he's done more like going to small town fairs or like that sort of shit, like in the area. And like for whatever reason, he's been hitting my recommended more too. I'm not subscribed to him, but he had an episode on space aliens, which Hodge caught, and he's like, you got to talk about space aliens, which I guess is kind of interesting if you're not from the area. But essentially what space aliens is like a themed restaurant that was like born and based out of North Dakota. I think the very first one opened in Bismarck. Fargo then got one. I think there were several locations, like maybe 7 or 8. But I think right now there's only 3, with the third one being in just outside of Minneapolis.
In Albertville, there's one.
Albertville, yeah. Which is just basically kind of like a destination strip mall, outlet mall suburb of Minneapolis. So I guess I never really gave it much thought that space aliens would be that interesting. So basically what it is just a concept. And I think that's probably why it didn't franchise well, is like there were 1 million in one of these sort of restaurants back in the day. It's just a concept, sort of family friendly eatery. It's basically all alien themed. Everything inside is painted out like with space alien decor, like rocket ships, toys. And then they also have an arcade, which those just got revamped probably, I'd say, in the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, to where they're like more modern games finally. Like you've got your Halo Combat Evolved in there. You've got, more newer prize stuff. And I think probably what's interesting is the only reason that maybe Space Aliens has lasted is because they legitimately have pretty decent food. Like their ribs are good. Their burgers are all right. Their pizza's good. Yeah. So it's like we also have a Chuck E. Cheese in town. Well, we have a third option now as far as, so it's like, do you want to, if your kid's begging to go to Chuck E. Cheese, but you don't want to eat cheese on a cracker, like you go to Space Aliens, like is basically what it works out to be.
Yeah. And if you don't, Pizza Ranch is kind of moving into that territory of pizza and arcade and all that stuff.
Yes.
but they don't have a door that looks like a spaceship that you're walking into. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's super kitschy and super weird. And I think they've been around since you and I were, I want to say like maybe I was maybe early or late grade school, like early middle school. So you were even younger than I was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing that both stores in North Dakota have lasted as long as they have, because another fun fact about North Dakota and probably the Midwest in general, but for sure North Dakota, is people only give a shit about franchised restaurants. Like if you try to start a quality restaurant that is not like a Cheesecake Factory or an Applebee's, like it will go out of business because nobody cares. Everyone's like, yep. Oh, Raising Cane's made it to town. We got to eat at Raising Cane's all day long. You know, it's like, yep. It's just like the dumbest, like backwoods mentality. So the fact that Space Aliens, which I guess is a small local franchise, has still existed just kind of blows my mind. I will say I do know there was like a very noticeable dip in quality. Like I'd say maybe, well, before I had kids, which had been quite a while. Like I know the food wasn't as good. The place got kind of run down, but it seems like after they've revamped, and remodeled a little bit, it's been good again. I will say there used to be a Space Aliens in St. Cloud, Minnesota when I lived there. And I proudly got tossed out of that one. So
wow.
Yeah, it was this was when I was younger. I was newly married. Keep in mind I got married pretty young. We were 25 at the time. And I lived out in Waite Park, which is a, I don't know, suburb of St. Cloud or whatever, and we had a Space Aliens there. And Space Aliens, and it was walking distance to my apartment. And Space Aliens had a Sunday special, and it was like tap beers. They were like the smallest cups. They were like maybe 10-ounce cups. They were $1 a piece, right?
Again, better than Chuck E. Cheese, right there,
right,
too.
100%, yes. So there is like a dedicated bar section, but there's still kids screaming and running everywhere. So you have to deal with that. But we get there at like, God, I don't know, like 1:00 on a Sunday or whatever, and like when I was drinking, like that Sunday afternoons were always my favorite day to drink, and then just like go home, eat some food, get in bed, and be ready for hell the next day, work. So we get there like 1, and the guy comes over, and it was just Jill and I and my wife. We'd been just talking, chit-chatting, and he comes over with like our bill. He's like, you guys aren't being like obnoxious or anything, but like, I just pulled your tab. Like, is this right? Have you had 11 beers each? And like, keep in mind, this is like Coors. This is like Coors beer, right? So like, I'm not even really feeling buzzed off of this amount of beer because I have this tolerance at that point. I was like, yeah, like that sounds right. He's like, are you driving? I'm like, no. He's like, okay, well, I'm gonna give you one more, and then you're done. I was just like, okay, fuck you. You're not getting a tip. See ya. So yeah, kicked out of Space Aliens. So annoyed. Uh-oh, lost Andy. Technical difficulties. And now we wait. I'm going to just try to fill air so that Andy doesn't have to edit this. But yeah, Space Aliens is interesting. It's worth a stop. If you got kids, and you want some decent dish food at a reasonable price and play some video games, it's kind of hard to beat. I would say it's got a leg up on Chuck E. Cheese by far. And the whole theme and everything is pretty well done and goofy in there. It's a unique experience. Do we have Andy back? Oh, I see motion. Wait, saw something. Oh. You there?
I am. Wrong camera, though.
Wrong camera. I kept idly chatting while you were gone, so you don't have to edit that part out. You can just leave it. I just narrated the whole. This is creepy because now I'm seeing you stare at the back of your screen, and it's just your mustache, so it just looks to me like you're watching porn.
The Space Aliens tangent. That's where it goes.
Yeah, you gotta watch tentacle porn immediately. There we go. I heard a good joke. I was watching some YouTube clip today. There's like a couple people roasting each other with jokes they write, and like it's like back and forth. And this Asian guy tells the joke to this girl sitting across from him. She's a redhead. He's like, "What do you call a redhead in a porn movie?" And she's like, "I don't know." And he goes, "The cameraman."
Oh, that's bad.
So good. Well, we're back. The aliens interrupted your broadcast temporarily, but
I have to reset my thing here.
Your recording is not broken, or it is broken?
I think it's stopped.
Uh-oh.
That's fine.
Yeah, like I said, I filled it. So as long as you match it up to, if you want to do another time.is thing, let me know.
That's fine. I think I'm running.
Running? All right. Well, you're back.
No? To restart Audacity again, I think.
Right. It's still happening. Podcast is happening. And he's rebooting after the...
This all started from my monitor turning off.
Uh-oh.
So then I tried to push in the cable a little bit more, and then it disconnected everything.
You're an IT guy. You're supposed to just know how this stuff works.
Cables do their fucking jobs, then it'd be fine.
It's those damn lazy cables.
Yep.
I was on strike.
All right, we back? Yeah, okay, we're back.
Okay.
I got something to say about space aliens.
Okay, yeah, you cap it off. I tried to recap it, but have you been kicked out of space aliens?
I have not. I've not reached the 10 bar limit or the 10 beer limit at space aliens.
You have to do the walk of shame out of a kid's restaurant. Let me tell you, on a Sunday evening, that's a low.
I never until right now, I didn't think it was an interesting thing or weird thing solely because it existed around us.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched Toy Story about 1 billion times as a kid. And Pizza Planet that's space aliens. That's pretty much the restaurant.
Yes.
So I just assumed that they were riffing on like these alien restaurants that are all over America.
One guy from that production crew ate at a space aliens one day.
Yep. He's like, what if toys were real? And they talked.
I swear they used to have those weird little like 3-eyed alien things too. It's like a prize at space aliens, but
yep.
Could be wrong.
I will say I hate driving by it with the kids because it is one of those things where they see that and they're like, go there.
Yeah, when you look out a window and there's a giant alien mural and a spaceship crashing in the side of a building, kids are going to wonder.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Yeah, I guess it never occurred to me, like you said, that it was anything special just because it's always been there. But yeah, pretty neat.
Yep.
Not a reason maybe to visit the state, but hey, if you're already here, check it out. Speaking of checking it out, staff picks, what do you got?
So quickly, when we're talking about R3, I'm going to talk about Fraser's recommendation of Bluey.
Okay.
On his latest episode. And I'm going to say yes. You should watch Bluey. I think parents should watch Bluey.
Okay. I've not checked it out.
I don't know if I think it would be an interesting thing for most parents to watch. You might still want kids of that age, which I still do a little bit. But overall, the story where the kids are watching, they're watching the 2 youngest dogs and what they're doing. But as a parent, I'm always watching what the parents are doing, and there's always kind of subtext that the kids aren't actually catching. It's not really innuendo. It's more like sometimes like you'll be a lazy version of how you would do a parenting thing. Although I will say these dogs are pretty good parents. They've set a high standard for playtime. I don't think I can give my kids that much playtime. But there are a lot of episodes where, like, there's one, for example, where it's the New Year's Day. So the parents are just kind of laying around being really lazy. And the kids want to play. Yeah, the kids want to play, and they're just like, oh, not today. No. So eventually the dad is like on the floor, and the kids are just jumping on top of him and pretending that he's a boat or whatever. And eventually they're like, oh, it's whale tours, and they're like touring, and they're like looking at the mom on the couch and be like, we found a whale.
Oh no.
So there's a lot of subtext where it's like the dad is laughing because obviously that's funny,
right,
when you think about it, and then obviously they're hungover. But I honestly think it's a pretty good show just to watch as an adult too.
What is it air on?
It's on Disney Plus.
Okay. I knew I've seen the like thumbnail thing for it, but I didn't know where I've seen it.
Yep. They just released 10 episodes, and I was pissed that my kids and my wife watched a few without me. So,
how dare they?
Yep. So I'm just piggybacking on R3, his recommendation. Also, black licorice sucks. I agree with that. I worked at a company that made licorice. Could have as much free licorice as I wanted. Nice. I didn't eat a drop of their black licorice. But yeah, my real recommendation is an album by the metal band The Sword. This came out in 2006.
Okay.
It's called Age of Winters. And I loved it when it came out. And for whatever reason, I just hopped back into it. And it's just been an album that's just been on repeat.
It sounds sort of like a Lords of Trident sort of vibe, or?
Sort of. There's some heavier thrash metal. He's kind of more power. They're a little bit more power metal, right?
Yeah.
This is there's some thrash to it, but it's mostly how would I describe it? It'd be a thrashier, heavier version of like Corrosion of Conformity.
Okay.
But I will say, as the years went on and they made new records, they constantly did new things, and by the end, they're no longer together now. They just turned into something that was like, oh, this music isn't for me anymore.
Just like weird prog rock or what?
Yeah, they definitely got it into some weird directions. But for whatever reason, that one album
is
just
amazing.
Hits the sweet spot.
So I've never heard of this band. Like, how did you stumble across them?
Let's see. So,
because like thrash metal and stuff, that was like end of new metal, beginning of like metalcore and deathcore. So like a traditional metal band at that time is crazy.
Yeah. It's not like pure metal. It's just more of like kind of like dirty kind of Pantera.
Oh, okay.
You know, that type of
like riff.
Very riff heavy. Yeah. They'll have they'll stick on a riff over and over, and then they'll move it to another riff, but then the whole song will have like 10 iconic riffs, right?
Right.
But yeah, I don't know what it is about that
Austin,
one album.
Texas too. Dang. Okay.
Yeah. There's probably one on there. Freya was a decent song that was played, but
Oh, on their official website, you can get a 3 LP compendium of Sword's greatest hits.
That's probably a lot of from that one album. Probably.
It's like that international super hits with Green Day where it's just like all dookie. It's like, cool. I already own that. Okay. Well, I like metal, so I'm going to have to check this out. Plus vinyl. I mean, maybe I'll just buy it because. Yeah. Well, I'll piggyback off your staff pick, and I'll also touch on R3 again. And I think it was the random recommendation segment where Hodge had mentioned that pinball movie, like the Man Who Cheated or Saved the Game or whatever. I watched that mostly because I knew it was coming out and I forgot all about it. And him talking about it reminded me. And yeah, that's a sweet movie if you like pinball. Guy's got like the main actor's got like a really gross, like dirty porn stash that one of the shots, I don't know if it was like a post shot or if they were just better at hiding it in other shots, but you can definitely tell it's just a stick on like Velcro mustache. There's just one shot where it's pretty obvious, and maybe they had to like shoot it post production. But yeah, it's cool. It kind of follows that era where a few regions of the Midwest and other parts of the U.S. had bans on pinball, treating it like a game of chance, like a gambling game, which
sure,
it was a thing in certain regions. Like I knew Chicago for sure, but apparently New York too. So and it's actually more just kind of like a love story is what it sort of works out to be also with pinball mixed in. So I think it's entertaining for the whole family. You can watch it with someone who's not interested in pinball because of the way they tell the narrative, and you'll enjoy it, but you'll also get a kick out of the pinball references if you're a dork and like that stuff. So I would recommend that one as well. But my staff pick, I had to do it. I touched on it at the top of the show, but we lost Paul Rubin, aka Pee Wee Herman. He died age of 70 over the weekend. Which, man, that guy, I think he shaped an entire generation of kids that would then go on to understand things and produce things like Tim and Eric, Great Job.
Oh yeah.
Most of Adult Swim. Like he started the demented sense of humor that our generation, I think, would lean into. So I have to recommend his first movie, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It still holds up. Still great production. It's funny for adults. It's not a kid. I mean, it is a kid's movie, but it's
a full-fledged movie. It's not just a kid show.
And it's the first time Tim Burton got a movie, and yeah, I mean, there's so many quotable lines in that. It's great. I mean, all the stuff he worked on for the most part was great, this show, but I think the first movie is good. Or if you don't have access to that, I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. There is that Netflix original that he did in 2016, Pee-wee's Big Holiday, where he's on a road trip and best friends with Joe Manganiello for some reason, which is awesome. Who plays himself in the movie. So yeah, it's crazy to think that he was 70 years old. I mean,
yeah, you wouldn't have thought that. Yeah.
No. Of course, he's always in character. He's, he, at least through our lives, like he seldom interviewed as himself until later years, but
yeah, you would see him occasionally in like other movies where he would be playing himself, or a different character. And it was really weird to be like, oh, that's Pee-wee. What the hell? It's so weird to see him something else.
And he had to disappear for,
well, yeah,
maybe not everyone who's listening to this remembers. If you're from our generation, you do. I would say he was the first celebrity that got like canceled before that was a thing. He was still doing his children's show, but he got caught in an adult theater, let's just say fondling some things, and got arrested. So he basically like fell out of the limelight for most of the 90s. And I think he popped back up in Mystery Men, which did well. And then he was in Blow, which did really well. And he continued to work from there, but like, yeah, completely leaving the Pee-wee character behind. But it's amazing that he came back and basically had like a second act to his career. Most people don't get that chance. I mean, Kevin Spacey just won all his lawsuit, like allegation stuff, but I guarantee you he's not going to be back in anything.
No, no, probably not. And how do you, when you lock that character away for that long, how do you come back to it? Because it's a juvenile character too, you know? So like, how do you get to that? But yeah, when I was a kid, that was like, I wasn't allowed to, he wasn't really even on the air anymore at that point. Right. Like his show wasn't, but even then, like if you would pop up on something, your
parents would be like, no.
Yeah. And whether or not, now that I think about it, if it was just because they didn't get him either, maybe they just didn't want.
I mean, there's a lot of adult references and innuendo even in the kids show. Yeah. I mean, in the movies for sure, but like, Phil Hartman cameos, and I still remember the episode where he literally married a fruit salad. Yeah. So R.I.P. Pee-wee, I guess. But yeah, check out any of his stuff, but felt appropriate to go with one of his films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, let's move into the weekend rental. For those of you who are uninitiated, what we do is in this segment is we pick a game for a given system, we'll play it, and then we'll give our opinions on the game, whether we would personally buy, rent, or burn that game. And by burn, we mean light on fire. The system of choice this go around is the NES/Famicom, and we played Mystery Tower, which is a Famicom exclusive.
Babble no Tuo?
That's what we played.
Yeah.
So this recently got added to the Nintendo Switch Online. Neither of us had played it, and it seemed convenient enough to go into. I'd say from the outset, as you look at screenshots and the initial overview of this game, it looks a lot like your standard puzzle game. I would say it seems to borrow more heavily from what I would consider early PC puzzle games in the way that it plays and looks, but you're basically a guy on screen who's going to navigate to an endpoint or unlock pieces to get there. And to do that, you're navigating, climbing up and down ladders, and also moving pieces that form steps. It's super cryptic, super basic, and it should say a lot that the select button is the auto kill button because you can actually get yourself to a point where you can't win. So as far as game design goes, knowing that auto kill button exists, I think says volumes.
Yeah. That's already a bad design. If you can't figure out how to make a puzzle game that you can't finish every single time, that's a problem.
Yeah. And it's got maybe one of the most cryptic first levels of any game I've ever seen. You know, people a lot of times use the reference of the level design and the layout, how like that from Super Mario Brothers intuitively teaches you how to play. This doesn't do that. It just throws you into a room.
It's trying to do that. So what I think it's forcing you to figure out that mechanic right off the bat
by making you hate the game within the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, if you can't figure that out, you don't deserve to keep going because you're not going to figure out anything after that anyway, right? So
fair.
You better just get good and figure out that one mechanic. For those that cannot see, I have a picture of the game as my background. It looks grid-based. Every background that I've seen has squares in the background. The pieces that you're moving are little stairs that fit directly in these squares.
Or half a square, depending on.
Right. And I think that's where the problem lies, especially in that first level, is because you see all this and you assume you are placing these steps directly in these squares in the background. You will not make it very far if you're not willing to change your mind about that.
Yeah, and it's worth noting too that like the input options are super basic. There's no toggle, there's no like flip. There's only pick up, walk left and right, drop.
And a lot of it is managing which direction the piece is. So
correct.
Most of the puzzle isn't necessarily trying to traverse, it's trying to figure out how you flip these pieces in a really shitty way.
Yeah. And I didn't understand too, like sometimes like you put them up and you'd think they would just connect to each other. And other times you'll do that and they just fall down. Like the physics on when they'll clip into place and when they will fall is so unintuitive. I mean, you learn because you have to, because the game screws you. And that's the other thing is like, there's enemies, and sometimes there's a lot of annoying enemies that are always bouncing around, and you have no way to defend yourself or kill them. So, like, on top of just the mind F that is this game and the way it lays things out, is you're not even given the opportunity to sit there and think 5 steps ahead. because you'll have like a spider monkey jumping all over you. I don't know what they are, but they're just like you're playing like the dodge game where you're trying to think. It sucks.
This is not the game to have enemies in at all. You did not need enemies in this game whatsoever.
It had to be very early on, right? Like I would imagine. I didn't look what year this came out, but I should check.
Yeah. The ones that I saw were almost all single screen. I don't know if there was any scrolling, was there?
There is a little bit later on. I got to some vertical scrolling.
Okay.
But I didn't get too deep into this game, to be honest, because it just irritated me.
I hated this game with a passion. That first level, 86. I think is the worst. That first level is the worst thing first level in a video game I've ever seen.
Yeah, 100%. I almost didn't. I was so annoyed with it. I didn't even want to go watch a Let's Play because I was like, F this.
Yep.
Yeah, that was 15, 20 minutes of me just beating my head against the wall until it like finally worked.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's infinitely easier.
Oh, yeah. Once you know how to do it.
It's still not fun.
No, it's, yeah. Once you know the mechanic on, like, you basically have to go down the half step.
Yes.
Drop a block. Then you're able to climb over to the other side of a block and get to the other side.
Which the way that works too isn't always consistent. Like with the backward facing blocks and like, I don't know. And like sometimes you can like the way you can block yourself by putting another piece just like inadvertently a little too close to like lift something up below it.
Yep.
It's just, there's a lot with this game that it's like the foundation to something that could be like, if this was the stepping stone to like Solomon's Key or something, like I could see that. Like there was a natural evolution. Like you had an idea. This isn't fun though. Like
Solomon's Key though is so basic. Like, you know the rule. The one,
right?
You got the block. You can pick up the block. You can put it. You know where the block is going to go.
Yeah.
When you put it down, it's.
And that's more fun. Like that's more like Solomon's Key is like strategy and like logical trial and error, where this is like frustrating because of the enemy placement too. It's just like I don't understand how any of this works, and the game doesn't really explain it or allow you to grasp it. And maybe I'm just really stupid and bad at puzzle games, but this was not a good experience.
Yeah, there'll be levels where they'll stack up a bunch and be like, well, you got to build a stairway just to get up to the top of the stack because you can't grab anything in the bottom of the stack or the middle of the stack.
Yeah.
And then other times they'll stack them up and then you can grab one on the bottom and then all the other ones fall down. And it's like, what?
Well, I found one too. Like the final stage I quit on seemed like it was going to be necessary for me to carry pieces up and down the ladder, right? Because there was just no way that I was going to get to my objective if I couldn't. So like naturally I'm just like, oh, that must work. And I walked over the ladder and just like fell to my death and it squished me. I was like, sweet.
Jeez.
So like even with Rewind on the Switch, this is a near impossible game after a handful of stages.
Yeah. I couldn't even imagine playing this game without Rewind. This would be infuriating, being stuck constantly. And then, yeah. It's, if there was more pieces to it, like give me all the Tetris pieces.
And just a basic attack, right? Like just like a little whack to be able to like punch a bad guy. Yeah, it's very, very rough, very early, and very I see why this didn't get brought over here. And I'm kind of annoyed that it got brought to my Switch even, but
well, it says Jalico at the front.
Yeah, knowing it's a Jalico game says a lot.
I think they're all on the Switch at this point.
Yeah, Jalico and Data East stuff has just been hoored out. Well, I mean, I think we all know where this is going, but what's your buy, rent, or burn on this one? What are you going to give it?
This might be the worst game. It's maybe not the worst game, but I had the least amount of enjoyment out of it. I think that first level really set a tone that I hated this game, that it wanted me to hate it. And as soon as I figured it out and they're like, okay, I understand that you needed to teach me how this worked, I was too far gone. I lasted 3 levels on it and I was done.
Yeah. Ditto. Hey, I hate this. I would burn it. And yeah, immediately upon playing and completing that first level, I knew that this was not a thing I needed to come back to ever again. So it was not fun while it lasted, and I won't be revisiting it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there's any Mystery Tower fans out there. Does anyone actually like this? Let us know.
Has anybody made it to the 64 levels?
Yeah.
The Mystery Tower?
It's a bad way to end an episode, but here we are.
We did this to ourselves. We were looking at the screenshots and we're like, oh, that looks fun.
Yeah. Deceptive.
Yep. It's not the way to go.
No.
If you're not going to bring out all the good Japanese games, just stop bringing them over here on Switch. There's plenty of other ones to do. Not
Give us Super Mario USA, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
And Doki Doki Panic. Let everybody see side by side.
Mm-hmm. That would be cool.
Well, I guess technically we do have Super Mario USA, but it's just 2.
That's only in the one thing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's going to put a pretty rotten note at the end of this, but we do not recommend Mystery Tower. We do recommend emailing us at weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter.
X. Find us on X. Until it's officially offline. We're on X.
Good thing it's on Z, because there would be a lot of brand confusion with all the people that say Z.
Yeah, it's tough.
That would be bad.
I was like 23 before I learned that was a thing.
Oh, yeah. Yep. But we're stuck with X. You find us on there, I guess. But until next time, be kind, rewind.
Bananas.